So you started your business to solve a problem and create lasting change in your community, but now you find yourself stuck in the day-to-day operations of your business. How did that happen?
It's so easy to get busy and burned out working in your business that you don't have time and energy to work on your business. That's where we come in.
I'm Scott Woods, and with over 30 years experience in C-suite and accounting, I'm here to help you get your numbers in order so you can scale your business and your mission effectively.
And I'm Steph Thomas. With my 20 years of experience in human resources at all levels, I'm excited to help you grow as a leader of your business and surround yourself with members that understand your vision.
You're listening to the Changemakers Collective podcast, where impact-driven businesses come to accelerate their growth through servant leadership. All right, let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. So, hey, we are talking about how to spend your money. And we're making some assumptions around the fact in this podcast that you've actually paid attention to our strategic planning podcast previously. And you've made money. And now you've got leftovers. And what do you do with the leftovers?
Well, we at Silverback are super excited. And Scott, I know with your financial background that you are so fired up.
I'm trying to contain myself.
Oh, I don't believe you on a high scale. Okay, so let's talk about what do you do about the extra money? Is it real?
Yes. Is it real is a good question, right? I think especially now in an era that we've been through in the last several years where interest rates have gone up, we have to pay attention to making sure you have all of your business bases covered. We're making assumptions that you have paid your payroll tax. We've made assumptions
Quarterly.
that you've paid your quarterly estimated taxes from a personal standpoint. If you are a small business, you've got estimated tax payments. That business income is flowing forward through your business to your personal. If you're not making estimated tax payments, talk to your CPA and make sure that happens. Because I know when I first started my first business, that first year I got a tax bill for $13,420. I will never forget the amount because I nearly had a heart attack. Now, I made money, which was awesome. And then I watched all of it go back to the government. So make sure if you're a small business owner and you're an LLC that you are paying your estimated taxes. So
yeah, that's important.
We're making assumptions that that's happening. We're making assumptions that all your payroll taxes are done and all of those things are accomplished.
You have strategically planned.
You have done a good job.
You are successful in a lot of areas.
Yes, you followed what we said the last time and you've made money.
I love it.
So now what? Again, in the era where the interest rates have been higher, let's talk about corporate debt. If you are a small business owner and you have a loan, even through the SBA that you're paying 7, 8, 9% interest on, and you have an opportunity of leftover money that you're going to invest at 4, 5, 6% interest, it would make sense to pay off your loan, at least a portion of it, because now you're effectively getting 7% interest or whatever the interest rate.
For our listeners that don't know what SBA is.
Yes, Small Business Administration Loan. A lot of businesses start with what's called a 7A SBA loan. It's money that the government gives you. It sounds fantastic because the payments are low, because the payment horizon is 20 years. You can tell I have some feelings about the SBA. So when you're ready, and we'll do another podcast talking about financing your business. But again, let's make an assumption that that is paid for. Keep in mind, let's talk about certain buckets you want to put your money in. If you have a high interest loan, pay it off. A lot of small businesses finance their business through their credit card. First, don't do that unless you have to. Secondly, if you're paying 25, 30% interest on your credit card, which you are, and you have leftover money, you're not going to be able to invest that money and get 25% interest. Pay off your credit card bills. It becomes much more of an interesting conversation if your interest rate on your loan is 2, 3, 4, 5%. Maybe you don't want to spend that money on paying down your loan because you want to invest in your business by buying a piece of equipment or buying a piece of software that's going to make your business more efficient.
Scott, I want to just point out that, and again, we're just making some assumptions here because some of our listeners are large businesses and some are very small.
Yes.
And understanding what extra money is relevant, right?
Yes.
So not having your money mingled with your personal account. So a business account that is very separate than your personal
Yes.
account is a great place to first house your extra money.
Yes. There's a crazy variety of vehicles for excess cash. You and I both separately have American Express savings accounts that are paying 4.5% interest when the banks that we have our business checking with was paying 1% interest. So I say this with all love to our listeners. You have to manage your money, or your money will manage you. Pay off your high interest rate debt, and then look for ways to invest in your company to make it more efficient.
When do I save it versus when do I invest it?
If you can find, and I'll give you an example of a client we have that makes cabinets, cabinet doors. We were struggling with the ability to retain employees to do manual labor. We got to the end of the year and we had some excess cash. We looked at paying down some medium interest rate debt at 3, 4, 5% interest. Or did we invest the money in a piece of equipment that would alleviate our personnel problem? We chose to invest in a very expensive piece of equipment to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars that allowed us to not have to constantly be looking for employees to do that work. So sanding a cabinet door was a very manual process, and not a whole lot of people like to do that. We bought a piece of equipment that replaced 3 people. What we could do now is take the people that we like that we're hiring and allocate them to something else. Again, using the term force multiplier, we were able to allocate existing resources at a low interest rate and make ourselves more efficient and be able to scale where this piece of equipment works 24 hours a day. If you have excess cash, look for innovative ways to scale your business by investing in technology and investing in equipment and investing in your people. If you have rock star employees that are crying because they're poor and they're doing a good job, it is far more expensive to replace them than it is to pay them.
So Scott, I know
As an
that
HR professional, you would definitely
I
know
would love that.
that.
Scott, I know that you're all fired up about interest rates and investments and money management. But let's talk a little bit about the fun stuff that we can do with our money. You were talking about pouring into our teams.
Mm,
Sometimes we have clients that really talk about, hey, at the end of the year, we have this amount of money and we want to throw a huge party and
oh, yeah.
spend
Yeah.
X amount of money,
Yeah.
which really puts a drain on the finances, but is not a monetary value to our actual
That's true.
employees. So let's talk a little bit about, what can we do outside of just making sure our bases are covered?
This is a frustrating conversation. I'll just be straight
I'm
with
glad to bring it up
No,
for
this
you.
is frustrating because so many companies pride themselves in having a giant bash at the end of the year to celebrate their success. I used to work for a company that would spend $20,000 to $50,000 a year throwing a party and would only give 2% raises. Know your people. If you know what motivates your team, sometimes that's money. Sometimes that's time off. Sometimes that is benefits. Know your team. Same way we're saying you have to know your customer, you have to know your team around you and motivate them with what they want and what they need. I know when my wife and I were raising our 2 kids and they were small, I didn't care at all about a party. Just give me some cash so I can pay for tuition.
Right? That was the psychological mindset.
Yeah.
You can't give me a raise, but I'm counting the dollars around me that you
Yes.
spent on
Yes.
this. So let's take the assumption that you are a husband and wife that own a nonprofit
Okay.
and you have strategically planned, you've paid your taxes, your estimated taxes, and now you still have a bank of money. What do you do with that money?
What was cool was that's the best possible scenario, right? Now you've got an opportunity to say, and we talk about it all the time, going back to why you're in business. What problem are you trying to solve? If you have the opportunity to sow into an organization or sow into a community of people in a big way, not only will you benefit them, but you're actually going to create selfishly some buzz and some notoriety about your company being willing to actually put their money where their mouth is.
A great organization that Scott and I planted money back into is
Yes.
Foster Village.
Yes.
I
Foster
mean,
Village Charlotte is an awesome organization.
they truly are. And so, we can't say that we're impacting the community and not take some of the money from our company and actually
Well, and I
impact
think
the
the
community.
important thing about that is we contacted them, we met with them face to face and understood what their needs were. It wasn't like we just said, hey, we're going to randomly pick a charity and we're going to send them money. We sat down with the amazing owners over there and said, where are your pain points? What can we do? And we didn't know coming into that meeting whether or not they're going to say, hey, we'd love for you to volunteer,
Right.
or we'd love for you to, buy us a van or whatever.
Help us with another
Yeah,
home.
we didn't know
Right.
what was going in that, but we wanted to understand how we could be of help. There
It
are going
just
to be
happened to be financially.
there's going to be organizations that are going to say, look, I don't need
Everybody needs
very
money,
few
but
organizations are going to say we don't need money, but there are organizations that are going to say we need to have this done.
right, we're highly funded if you could just
Yeah.
donate your
Or
time.
we're having a Christmas bash
Mhm.
and we'd love to be able to provide more gifts for the people that we're serving. Or we really need a van. Who do you know? We're not going to be able as an organization to write buy a van. Ultimately, that'd be a great opportunity to have. But we can not only provide some seed money, but also connect them with partners that we know that are willing to discount the products that they need in order to have the greatest impact. So being able to understand, again, it goes back to simple.
Principles.
It goes back to simply being a good human and asking the questions. You can't serve those you don't know.
That's right.
Understanding where our why is, where it drives us.
What our core values are.
Yes, we feel very strongly about anti-trafficking and foster care and sowing into teenagers and making sure that everybody has equal opportunity to be as amazing as they were created to be.
Social justice.
Yeah, so we need to be able to put our money where our mouth is and put our time and talent and resources, not only just money, but time and talent. We're going to come alongside everybody we talk to and everybody we invest in and say, not only do we want to potentially help you financially, but we want to be a part of helping your business grow.
Absolutely. So, Scott, we've talked a little bit about managing your finances well. We've talked a little bit about how to impact your community with your finances. When do you pay yourself a little bit more?
Whoa, that's a good one.
I know.
That's a good one.
It's
That's
a
a
hot
good one, right?
topic
Because
for you.
again, if our primary focus is the service of others, which is what we're here for, everybody's got to eat. Everybody's got to understand what our market value is. When you're a business owner, people go into business to solve problems, but they also go into business saying, oh, I could be independently wealthy if I have a business and it's making money and I'll be a billionaire. What I will say to that is, how does that change the world around you? Yes, we all need to make money. But from a personal standpoint, what is a reasonable wage for yourself so that you can do what you want to do?
Well, that goes back to living a life of purpose on
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
right? So if you're being intentional to impact the community in a purposeful way, then you're probably not going to take all of the money that you've gotten throughout the
Yeah.
year and pay yourself.
Yeah,
It's a mindset.
I think it's important to recognize as a small business owner, one of the mistakes that's made early on is not paying yourself
Right.
and not building into your business plan what you should make.
Scott, that's great, right? So sometimes as we work with clients, they are working their full-time job
Yes.
and their other
yes.
full-time job is their nonprofit business, right?
Or their side hustle.
And they're trying to figure out how to spend their time in
Mhm.
their pain point nonprofit business, but they are either afraid to make the financial leap
Yes.
or they feel guilty. And it's okay. It's okay to pay yourself.
Well, and the flip side of that coin is you will be shocked. I know I was. When I jumped into entrepreneurship, I was terrified. When I first started my very first business, we had 2 kids in private school. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. And all of a sudden, I find myself through a series of catalytic circumstances saying, "Hey, I'm going to start this business." And I remember my wife saying, "What happens if nobody wants to hire you?" What we found through that process and being efficient with and resourceful with our time, talent, and treasure is that you end up needing less money than you think you need.
Okay, well, Scott, that's great. That's a great thing. So we've talked about, because I don't want to confuse our listeners, we've talked about not taking all the money out of the
Right.
business, but taking money out to be an employee of your business. So what I hear you say is being a responsible business owner that manages
Yes.
their money well is really the sweet spot of where you
Oh
want to
yeah.
be.
I mean, and you have to know what you're worth, right? If you're running a multi-million dollar operation and you are the owner, compare yourself to other organizations that are doing the same thing. If I'm the CEO of a $10 million company, I probably shouldn't be paying myself $20,000 a year,
Correct.
right?
But
But
Scott,
if I'm a CEO of a $10,000 company, I probably can't pay myself $100,000 a year.
exactly. But that looks like financial literacy.
Yes, yes. You need to understand your business and how your business makes money. So when you sit down and do the strategic planning that we just recently talked about, make sure you're factoring in. If you're early on in your business, you have to, when you're planning your pro forma, your planned financial statement, you have to include what your reasonable wage for your job is. Why? Because if you go to the bank and ask them for a loan, they're going to assume that you're paying yourself a CEO wage. They don't care at all what your P&L says, what your profit and loss statement says. They're going to assume that you're paying yourself. And if you're not, that's a problem. Make sure you include what you should be making, include what you want to pay for benefits, include all of the planning for what you personally and consequently what your team should make so that you know how to price your product and service.
I know this was a lot of
Yeah, we're
information.
going to have a whole episode just about pricing and planning. But I think if we go back, and I don't mean to interrupt your stuff because, that's how we do our things. You have end of the year money. Seek first to pay off high interest rate debt. Then look for opportunities to partner with impact partners that are doing what you think you want to support. That sounds cliche, but so into those companies that are doing it well. You don't have to be the one doing the thing. You can be a change maker by sewing into those that are doing it well and partnering with them to do it better.
So, as we live a life of purpose on purpose, Silverback Ventures looks forward to talking to you the next time about all of these other opportunities.
It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you for listening to the Changemakers Collective. If you've enjoyed this episode, please help us grow our community by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or rating us on Spotify.
You can also find our podcast on YouTube, so you can come and leave us a comment over there as well. If you want support growing your business and scaling your vision, visit us at silverbackventures.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, and we'll see you on our next episode.